Philadelphia Eagles training camp is in full swing, and some unexpected guys have been taking over, and that includes one of the Birds' newest additions on defense, a rising star that looks like he's ready to have a breakout year, and the Birds' newest starting offensive lineman. Meanwhile, Cooper DeJean has been impressing at a new position, while Quinyon Mitchell made headlines in more ways than one, and we also got some really interesting updates on some of the Birds' most crucial positional battles. So I'm going to talk about that and all the other latest news from Eagles training camp starting right now. Alright, so the ramp up for the Eagles' first preseason game has officially begun, as this week the Birds were set for 4 straight practices during training camp, those being on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, before it all culminates on Thursday with the Eagles facing off against the Cincinnati Bengals in their first preseason game of the summer at 7:30 p.m. Now, obviously, there's already a lot of news to talk about coming from the Birds' first couple practices of the week, which we're going to do here in just a minute, but there's also going to be a ton of storylines to watch in that first preseason game against the Bengals, because although I doubt we'll get to see the starters, we will probably get to see some of the new additions, including some of the rookies, so that'll definitely be super exciting. And on top of that, we'll also get to see several players who are currently competing to be starters, such as Sidney Brown and Kelee Ringo, for example. So it'll be really interesting to see if any of those players that are battling for starting jobs right now stand out in this game or throughout the rest of the preseason, and how much that could contribute to them potentially winning that battle. And then on top of that, there's also some interesting backups that are fighting for roster and practice squad spots. So this game, along with the 2 other preseason games, are going to be absolutely crucial for them as well. And that includes the entire group of receivers behind A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jahan Dotson, as this entire group is really just a bunch of unproven guys with unique skill sets that are just trying to make the roster. So again, it's going to be really interesting to see which of those guys stands out and helps themselves the most during the preseason.
You know, it's been fun to watch. They're all different. All those guys that are competing for those spots in the back end. You know, we've got some fast guys, we've got some bigger guys. They all bring a different element to the table. And so it's just a matter of getting them in the right position to see them do what they do best. And so each day, you know, there's a different guy that's kind of shown up and made a play and done something. You're like, okay. And I think really what it's going to come down to is the whole body of work. We got a long way to go, and that's, you know, you don't realize that how many weeks we actually have left in these games, and the joint practices will really be critical for those guys, especially to see what they do against other competition.
Again, I'm definitely excited to watch all these guys in the preseason and to see who stands out the most, because like I and Patullo said, all these guys have unique skill sets, and many of them have actually performed really well during camp. I mean, for starters, you got Terrace Marshall Jr., who sure, is currently injured as I record this part of the video on Sunday, but he did make a lot of plays during the spring specifically, and has carried that momentum into training camp before he got hurt, even earning the praise of A.J. Brown, who had said that Marshall has added a lot of competition to that wide receiver room and has made things a little uncomfortable. And then you also got the 2 second-year players in Johnny Wilson and Ainias Smith. Obviously, Wilson is a 6'6" freak of nature at wide receiver, so naturally he's a great blocker and also a huge physical prowess and potential red zone threat at wide receiver. And then meanwhile, Ainias Smith is a guy who has an interesting skill set and showed some flashes in, albeit extremely limited opportunities last season, mainly in that Giants game at the end of the year where all the backups played. But again, he's got some promise and potential. And then there's also undrafted free agent wide receiver Darius Cooper, who after Sunday's practice had 14 catches on 19 targets and 1 touchdown during camp so far. And he's consistently made nice catches day in and day out, including one down the sideline on Sunday. And then on top of that, there's also Elijah Cooks, who currently there has been a lot of buzz surrounding him at training camp, as the big 6'4" wide receiver has been making plays during camp, mainly showcasing his impressive contested catchability on several different occasions. And overall, Cooks has 16 catches on 25 targets and 2 touchdowns during camp so far. So again, he's been really impressive, and offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo seems to agree with that as well.
Coming into camp, what did you know about Elijah Cooks?
Just really his size. His size makes a difference, and he's made some plays the last couple days, which is good to see. And, you know, I think he's got a little more speed than you realize, so it's been fun to kind of watch his game grow. We've challenged him a little bit to move around at different spots, and if he can continue to do that, obviously that makes him more valuable.
Again, whether it's Cooks or any other one of these wide receivers that are just vying for roster and practice squad spots, I'm going to be excited to see how they perform throughout the rest of camp, and especially in these upcoming preseason games. Moving on though, we also got some big news on a wide receiver coming out of the Eagles training camp practice on Sunday. And by the way, I'm recording this specific part of the video here on Sunday night, so I don't currently know what's going to happen at tomorrow's practice. But one of the big stories from Sunday is that star wide receiver A.J. Brown missed practice with a hamstring injury that he apparently suffered back on Friday. Now, on one hand, I would say this is really no reason for concern because obviously we're still very early on here in training camp and he's going to have plenty of time to fully heal and be back at 100% for the start of the season. However, I will say it's still not great that A.J. Brown's missing time during training camp. And also, hamstring is one of those injuries that, if not handled correctly, can linger and nag for a very long time. So all I'm saying is AJ and the Eagles just got to be smart about how they handle this and treat it. But, all in all, I don't think it's anything to worry about too much. And then in other injury news, Zach Bond missed practice once again, along with a few other guys. Meanwhile, Devontae Smith and Nolan Smith had returned in a limited capacity, which that's definitely good news. But it was actually another edge rusher who really made his presence felt on Sunday. And that would be none other than the new addition Joshua Uche, as this is a guy that has seemingly continued to just keep getting better and better as training camp has gone on, and Sunday was his best practice yet, as at one point he got a sack on backup quarterback Tanner McKee in 11-on-11s, and then he also had probably the best play of the entire practice. And Dave Zangaro described it here saying, quote, "The defensive play of the day came from veteran edge rusher Josh Uche. Working as the right edge rusher, Uche hit veteran left tackle Kendall Lamb with a powerful one-arm stab that sent a stumbling Lamb to the seat of his pants. During camp, Uche has shown his speed around the edge, so to see him win with a power move was really impressive. Through 8 days of training camp, Uche has been a pleasant surprise. While Azeez Ojulari got the first snaps with the first team on Sunday, Uche has made more plays this summer. So to me, that's super exciting. I mean, the fact that Uche knocked over Kendall Lamb with one arm is just super impressive. I mean, it's kind of hard to not get fired up about that. And again, Uche is somebody who I've said all offseason long I think has really high potential, and I think he has the chance to be a true difference maker for this Eagles defense this season. So again, to hear that he's been impressing during training camp is super exciting. And I'm going to be really interested to see how he looks during preseason, assuming he does play significant snaps. Speaking of which, someone else we'll probably see a good amount of in the preseason is right guard Tyler Steen, as of course, up until this point in his career, he's never been a full-time starter, and if you ask the coaches, he's still in a competition to win the starting right guard job. However, I think it's pretty clear at this point that Steen is the clear favorite there, and it is currently his job to lose, as he's been the starting right guard pretty much throughout all of training camp. Actually, scratch that, not pretty much. He has been the starting right guard throughout the entirety of training camp so far, and he seems to be getting better and better as time goes on. And Eagles star defensive tackle Jalen Carter seems to think that Steen is in fact ready to finally be the full-time starter this year.
Steen? Yeah, Steen, that's my boy. He went to Bama. I played against him, I think, one time at Bama. But me and him been going at it since we got here. First rep, when it was him and Makai going for the spot, I was going against both of them guys. So I got a good chance to learn about Steen, his sets, and he learned about me, my little hump moves and stuff. So we just getting each other better every day. So he's a good, hell of a player.
Do you look at it as trying to get him ready, knowing that he's in line to take over that starting spot?
I believe he's ready. Like I said, him and Makai was fighting for a spot last year. Me, both of them guys were ready. Makai earned the spot. He got it. It happened, but now he's going. Steen is the guy that's going to step up. I think he's ready. Like I said, we're going against each other every day.
I mean, you definitely gotta love to hear a player as good as Carter praise Steen like that. And I mean, to be fair, how could he not, after Steen apparently had knocked Carter over in practice just a few days ago? And overall, these comments only make me even more confident in the third-year man's ability to go out there and perform well as this team's starting right guard this season. Moving on though, we also got some other interesting stories coming out of practice on Sunday. I mean, for starters, you had Adoree Jackson starting at corner, making that now 5 of 8 practices where he has started over Kelee Ringo at corner. Also, Jihaad Campbell continued to get first team reps with Zach Bond out, and he made multiple plays, including getting a pass breakup on a Jalen Hurts pass to Ainias Smith, and he also sacked Tanner McKee at one point on a blitz, and he also was seen lining up on the edge at one point. So, overall, it was yet another very impressive day for the rookie, And then you had defensive tackle Ty Robinson getting a sack against the third-team offense, as he does seem to be trending in the right direction as well. And then also Kelee Ringo had a nice pass breakup on a throw from Jalen Hurts to Dallas Goedert. So, it's definitely good to see all these guys make nice plays. And then overall, looking at Jalen Hurts in his day, it was solid as he ended up going 14 for 18 with no touchdowns, but also no interceptions. So again, another good, not great day for Jalen Hurts at practice. And now, with all that said, that is pretty much all the main stories that came out of Sunday's practice. So without further ado, let's fast forward to Monday. Alright, so it's Monday, and as I expected, we got plenty of stuff to talk about. So let's start off with some injury updates, first being that A.J. Brown missed practice once again with that hamstring injury, so, no surprise there. Also, Zach Bond and others missed practice again, while many other guys were limited. But that list didn't include both Devontae Smith and Jihaad Campbell, as both of those guys were finally upgraded to full participants, so that's definitely good news, especially for Campbell, who hasn't been a full participant all summer. Interestingly enough, though, he actually didn't start today, and rather it was Jeremiah Trotter Jr. and Smile Munnon Jr. who started out the day with the first team at linebacker. So it definitely does seem like they're just trying to give everybody opportunities to play with the first team and mix things around. Speaking of which, that also happened at edge rusher, as seemingly for the first time during camp, Jalix Hunt actually moved down to the second team during Monday's practice, while Sunday's standout in Joshua Uche got to play with the first team. And again, I think a huge part of it is they're just trying to mix guys in with the first team, get them experience playing there. But I also think it's very well deserved for him to get these reps, considering that Uche has just gotten better and better as camp has gone on. Again, obviously, he made a ton of plays on Sunday, and now here he is running with the starters on Monday. So, we definitely love to see that. And at least as of right now, it looks like Uche is definitely on track to be the Birds' third edge rusher by the time the season rolls around. And Vic Fangio has taken notice of what he's been doing as well.
Yeah, I think Josh has had some good practices here of late. He's flashed and had some really good plays. Like a lot of the guys that are new, he just needs to eliminate the negative plays. And the negative plays aren't something that you guys may see or know. It's just reacting and covering and the way we want to play the run, the nuances of the defense. He's got to master those. But overall, he's had a good camp, and I see him getting better each and every day. And the same thing with Aziz.
It's pretty clear, just based off of everything that we've heard coming out of camp, that Josh Uche has been very impressive recently. I mean, again, he seems to just keep getting better and better as the days go on, so that only makes me more excited and hopeful about what he could possibly do this season. And now that we're about to get into the preseason, he is definitely going to be one of those guys that I'm watching the most. But I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts. I mean, what are your current expectations for Josh Uche this season? Just give me all your thoughts down in the comments below. Moving on though, somebody else who has been a training camp standout recently that I'm super excited to watch in preseason is defensive tackle Moro Ojomo. As it seems like every single day, Ojomo is making another play, whether it was a couple days ago where he got a strip sack on Jalen Hurts, or today when he got yet another sack in team drills. I mean, Ojomo has just brought it every single day at practice, and the guys around him have taken notice of that, as they seem to have very high expectations for him this season as well.
Yeah, I think Moro's been a good player. Obviously, he's surrounded by other really good players. He's a guy that I would describe, he's awkward in a good way. Just the way he moves, his size, his arm length. He's one of those guys that we kind of quote-unquote say is awkward to block, and I think that gives him a huge advantage in this game. He's doing a lot of great things. I see him coming out here every day getting better and better.
Talking about Ojomo, actually, when the season was over, I seen somebody post on Twitter, or X, if you want to call it, of like 3 or 4 minutes of his highlights, and you can see he's working out there. And I think this is the year he's going to prove it. All eyes going to be on him. He's going to get them one-on-one rushes where he's going to do what he did last year, and it's just going to show.
Just like those guys, I also have super high expectations for Moro Ojomo this season. Obviously, he's set to take on a much bigger role, and everything we've heard about him this offseason, whether it was seeing the exciting tape and analytical stats earlier this offseason from 2024, or recently what he's been doing in training camp, it just all seems to suggest that Ojomo is going to have a true breakout season this year, so I can't wait to watch it. And I also can't wait to watch and see how the battle at cornerback between Kelee Ringo and Adoree Jackson continues to play out throughout the rest of camp. And Vic Fangio says that that battle is currently extremely tight.
It's close. I think both of them are having a good camp. But it's close. And been happy with both of them. And we'll see.
Meanwhile, flipping over to the battle at safety, Andrew Mukuba is still limited, which means just more opportunities for Sidney Brown to run with the first team and get more reps there. And he seems to be making the most of those and making really, really good progress.
When you say he's made progress, in what areas do you feel specifically that he's taken the biggest strides?
Overall, the entire game, again, just needs to put some polish on his operation. And, just recognize things a little quicker. And I think that will take his game to the next level.
Based on everything we've heard coming out of training camp, Sidney Brown really does seem to be headed in the right direction. I mean, sure, we haven't really heard of him making any standout plays per se, but we also haven't heard about him struggling at all either. And every time someone's asked about him, they only have positive things to say. Now, yes, like Fangio said, he does need to add a bit of polish to his game, but again, it definitely seems like he's on the right track. That said, it still does seem like when the Eagles are in base sets, we're probably going to see Cooper DeJean in there at safety instead of Sid or Mukuba, especially after what Vic Fangio said about him on Monday.
And just like I thought, he can be a good safety. Just the other day we had a route that we struggled with last year in games to pick up, and he did it like he'd been a safety his whole life. So, yeah, he'll be a good safety if we need him there.
It certainly sounds like Coop is a natural at the safety position, so while obviously slot corner is still going to remain his main position, I'm really excited to get to watch him switch to safety at times and see what he can do there. And I'm also excited to watch Coop's draft mate this season in Quinyon Mitchell, especially since it seems like he has significantly improved his ball skills and mainly his hands this offseason. I mean, he even said it himself not too long ago.
Yeah, I've been working this offseason on him. Every day before we go out to practice, I do something with our strength coach, Landon. So I've just been something that I've been really just trying to work on each and every day.
It's clear that after dropping multiple interceptions in the regular season last year, Q made it a point to improve his hands this offseason, and now, so far during training camp, he already has 2 interceptions, including one on Monday as he picked off a pass from Tanner McKee. So personally, I'm super excited to see what Quinyon is able to do this year, and I'll be curious to see if he can convert on a few more of those interception opportunities this season. And also, sticking with Q, he was actually just named to the NFL Top 100 list, coming in at number 49 overall. So congrats to him on that. He definitely deserves it, considering he's already one of the top shutdown corners in the game. And honestly, it's just crazy thinking about the fact that both the Eagles' top 2 draft picks from last season made the top 100 after just 1 year. Like, that's just unheard of. Moving on, though, to a few more plays from practice on Monday, wide receiver Elijah Cooks made his daily play, going up over Adoree Jackson for a contested catch, so that's definitely good to see. Meanwhile, backup quarterback DTR made the throw of the day by hitting wide receiver Jihaad Jackson with a beautiful deep pass for a 50-yard touchdown. So shout out to him, great play there. And then as for Jalen Hurts' performance, he was 16 for 19 with no touchdowns and no interceptions. So definitely a very good, very efficient day for Jalen Hurts, which you definitely like to see. And now, all that being said, you guys know that I'm going to be continuing to cover everything that comes out for the Philadelphia Eagles throughout the entire rest of training camp, and I'm also going to be covering the entire preseason as well. So if you don't want to miss any of that, then make sure you guys subscribe and you turn on notifications. Again, trust me, you're not going to want to miss anything. And also, leave a like down below to show some support, because it really does help me out a ton, guys. Let's see if we can get to 500 likes on today's video. And also, leave a comment down below just regarding anything that I talked about in this video. And if you want to watch another Eagles video going over a bunch more news from training camp, you can check this out right here. Now, with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.